Yeah, so I just want to thank you for your support. When the lockdown happened, we weren't very sure what was happening. And I saw an order come in from Chuck. And it kind of brightened my day, so I'm pretty stoked.
Yeah,
so thank you very much. Yeah.
I used I think it was a stone.
Yeah, I ordered a stone and
a couple things.
Maybe another open L kit. I can't remember
right
now, but yeah, the first few weeks there when we shut down was kind of weird, and then the online store started to pick up a little bit, and I got an order in from you, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, nice. I was
Thank
like,
you very much. Yeah.
I forget what it was that I was doing for some reason, but I was not traveling, or I think like the pandemic hit, and I'm like, after like 26 years of working in kitchens, I think I'm finally gonna sharpen my knives.
Oh yeah.
I think that's what happened. Like
a lot of people started getting
not like I never did before, but yeah, like I have a guy that passes by my house in like an old school truck, you know, like ding, ding, ding. And like I have like maybe 700 knives at home. So it's like, ooh, give him like 5 or whatever. So he sharpens a set. Then I kind of sharpen them at work a little bit. Yeah. But I never really had like my own stone where I'm actually like taking the time. And I guess the pandemic gave me a reason to.
Yeah. So we were doing some Zoom calls too, so if you ever want to hook up on Zoom,
that's a good
I'll
idea.
do some lessons with you too, for sure.
Yeah, I think the first lesson I learned was that it doesn't look like there's any grit to the stone, but there actually is quite a bit, like for your fingers. Mm-hmm. Whereas like, you know, you're like, and like my finger I kind of keep my finger on the knife and the stone to like feel the stone or something stupid. And like my 2 fingers here have still not really recovered. Like not recovered, but like they're still sanded down and very. So something I changed. I should have zoomed before I did that, but I've changed my technique.
We always get little worn out parts on our fingers there at the shop. So anyway, we started watching Chuck and the First People's Kitchens.
Nice.
There. So we really like that show, and we were just wondering if there's any ingredient that really stands out from that.
Oh man,
that you tried.
I mean, I think that it's basically there's no ingredients. You know what I mean? Like it's like, how can I say, like, it's really based on what we're hunting, what we're foraging, what we're finding, and then surrounding that, there's basically nothing, which is so counterintuitive for like chefs and the way the world cooks today. You know, it's like, so I think like the idea came about when probably like 7 years ago, where I pitched the show, and they were like, there's no way a white guy is gonna do this on our network. They're like, we don't have, you know, we don't have non-native hosts. Obviously, there's non-native people on some shows, but as a host, and I said, well, you know, it's really not a show about me. It's really a show about me learning, because I knew absolutely nothing. I think a lot of people like don't know much about Canada's Indigenous. Like I really, like, how do I speak Spanish and I don't know one word of Cree? You know what I mean? Like, how does that even make sense? Like, how do I know more about like Japan than I know about a community that's like 4 blocks away from my house? So I was like kind of myself, and so slowly but surely I would get like every year I'd get a call like, hey, you know what? We rehashed your idea. This might work. I'm like, just to be safe and like just to explain again, it's like me going to learn. It's not about me going to chef it up. I'm not trying to change anything. I'm trying to really learn. And the idea behind it was like, because of the cooking world where it's like farm to table, nose to tail, like so many buzzwords that I'm like, farm to table, like, like every vegetable I use is grown in a farm. Like I don't know vegetables that aren't. So it's like, it's very loose terms, and chefs used to like say a lot like, oh, we use the whole animal. But like you don't.
No.
Like it's just you don't. It comes in a box. You use the bones, you make a stock, like woohoo. You know what I mean? Like I'm not saying nobody does, but I'm saying like in Montreal, like you can't.
Few and far between.
You can't get a whole deer in your restaurant. It's illegal.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can get raised wild game, so not wild game, but like, you know, obviously some people do it, but in my restaurant, like I'm mostly seafood anyways. We stay away from most meat. We don't really use that much. But I was like, I want to really learn how to use the whole animal. And that's really the quest. It's like to learn about indigenous culture, but really live that using the whole animal. And like, that's one of the most impressive things, like, like knives and tools made out of bones and just like moccasins. Like,
how was the beaver liver?
Oh my God. Beaver liver, it's like a weird, so what's your favorite food? Beaver liver.
Yeah.
It's probably, I love liver. Like, I was like a weird kid that my mom used to make it and I loved it for some reason. It was dry, it was overcooked, it was like gray. Like, there's no reason for me to like it, but I used to love it. And she used to serve it with bacon, cream corn, and mashed potatoes.
Onions.
And that was like the way. And I guess maybe everything else, with the bite of liver, there's something about liver that I love, and we use it quite a bit at the restaurant, but beaver liver, and it was funny because, like, in most indigenous cultures, they don't waste anything, but like liver is not something, because it filters and cleans, they're not really big on eating it, and so everywhere I was like, I'll take the beaver liver, and beaver itself is so clean, it smells like pine trees, and like, it's just like, even when the carcass, it's just such a clean smelling natural animal, and the liver is so bright red, amazing. It was really one of my favorite things, and like, and to come back to ingredients, it's like, there's not, the focus is really almost always on one ingredient. There's not much around it, so it's fun to do that too, because you don't always. And nowadays, like, how can we add, added value? Like, what can we do to impress? And this is the complete opposite. Like, what can we just do to, like, and when you go to the Arctic, it's even crazier. Like, everything's frozen and raw, and I guess before you go, you don't really understand why, but like, there's just no wood. There's no, like, it's just, it's like snow, ice, water. No, nothing for fuel. Like, if you had fuel, let's say from seal fat or whale blubber or whatever, you would probably use it to light your house, or, you probably wouldn't have enough to cook. So, eating raw is like, it's like, that's the way it's done. So it's hard to understand until you go, and then you're like, oh yeah, okay. This now when you go, you're like, oh, this makes so much sense. I totally understand it. Like, maybe 5-6 years ago, there was a Inuit woman eating a ptarmigan, little bird, in the subway, in the metro station, like raw, like just like, and like, she got arrested. And turns out, like, having been to the Arctic now, and I've eaten ptarmigan, it is a bird that you eat raw. Like, you don't cook it, you eat it out, and so, if somebody would have known that, this woman wouldn't have necessarily been treated like, she must have mental issues, she must be on drugs, she must be, whereas no, it was actually like for us to have, like, a home cooked meal from our mom, like, she hadn't had that in so long. For her, it was just like, oh, I got a ptarmigan, like, she just ate it, but like, having known that, even when it happened at the time, I was like, man, what's wrong with her? Because I didn't know and I wasn't aware, and now knowing that, I like thought about it, I'm like, oh man, and having eating it, like, having had that in the Arctic, having shot it and like, it's still warm, and eating it, like, I can see how somebody would really
enjoy it.
Yeah, and that would remind them of their childhood. But so I don't even really know what the question was in the beginning, but yeah, the show's, it's literally life-changing for me. And I did one here in Abergwyth, Scotchford, where we went fishing for eel at night with like lights and spears, and the chief there hadn't gone fishing for 20 years. I don't know how, like, I felt like at first he was like, oh man, okay, I'm gonna take this guy out fishing, let's get it over with. He was really nice, but we had to go at midnight. It's like, okay, we gotta drag all the boats out at midnight. The guy was like, iffy. Let's just get it done, So, okay, so we get out there and we can't see them. Okay, guys, it was like the most beautiful night too. Like, the water was calm, the full moon was out. We got the lanterns, and then there's one eel, he spikes one, and it was like, it just all came rushing back, you know? He's like, okay, let's go, you get a spear. And then he was just, I never seen somebody change, like, you know, it's like he went back to his childhood, and then we're there for like, we're there for another 3 hours. It was so funny. It's like, I gotta get home, huh? And then we caught one, and it's like, okay, let's go, let's fill the boat. So it was really fun. And once again, like, we caught eel. We made like smoked eel, we had eel stew, but really like focusing solely on the ingredient and really nothing on, and it's cool because we don't do that much, you know? It's like now it's like,
we don't see eel too much around on the menus here.
No, it's crazy.
It's so abundant too.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
Like another guy I hang out with when I come here is George. I guess he's in New London or something, but he fishes.
George.
Yeah, you know, George Dowdle.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he always takes me out, and like eel fishing is like they're like when we go, there's like 100 in this boat. You know, it's just like super abundant. Yeah. And it's true, you don't really see it on.
It's healthy. It's
it's got to be
because there's so many of them.
Yeah, and it's just. It just looks...
There's just some kind of stigma around it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it takes me a while too. Every time I'm like, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Like the weird snakes that squeal. Okay, they're all over the boat, you know? It's like, it takes a couple minutes to...
So I know you have a line of pantry staples.
Yeah.
Any plan on...
I have a bag coming out soon. I only have one. This is my buddy Drew, the seafood platter.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's just like a tote bag. But yeah, I have...
Do you have any plan on expanding the selection? We just tried out the eggplant and...
those products, yeah. Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's a lot of work. Yeah. And it's... How can I say? It's like, it's a tough business that I wasn't really aware of. Mostly it's marketing. Right. What I realized, like obviously you want a good product. Yeah. And like these are all things I was making in the restaurant and like we were making on a small scale and then.
Because I know you do use some at Garde Manger.
Yeah, and like I have so basically my landlord, his family, they make olive oil in Greece. So when I first, 15 years ago, when I first started, he's like, you must use olive oil? He's like, I'll give you a bin. I'm like, perfect. So then he gave me a bin of, I'm like, I really like the olive oil. Like, it's super good. It's inexpensive. He's like, man, I'll get it shipped to you. Like, every week you tell me how much you need. Then at one point, he's like, hey, we should do like a Chuck Hughes olive oil. Right. I'm like, you know, why not? And then so for like the 10th year anniversary of the restaurant, I made a bottle of olive oil. It's like my Greek landlord's olive oil, you know, like a little spiel about the real story, how it happened. And that went fairly well. And then we're like, and it's, I guess, like, you know more about retail than I do, but it's like, okay, so what's next? Mm-hmm. Okay, so what's next? Yeah. You know, and I wasn't ready for that. And like, I guess all the products that we were doing, I'm like, so we've sort of expanded. And there's two ways. There's like either a way where like, it's kind of like, I guess, when you sign to a label or something, where they could fast track, but then you have like 70 products and you like 10 of them. Or you stay small, and that's kind of how we've done it, but it's very expensive and very slow. So I'm at a point now where I may need somebody to kind of help me out, or I have Christine Connolly, who's like she's the big boss of this operation. She does an amazing job, but it's like it's starting to take a life of its own, and then we have other projects, and so I didn't realize how much it was really about. Obviously, you want good stuff, but marketing is so important. Yeah. Because especially like olive oil, like you go anywhere, you walk in, there's like 75 olive oils. You know what I mean? Like, who's different, who's better? Probably a lot of them are equal quality, and like the reality is, you know, like everybody says theirs is better and theirs is more. Yeah. But, you know, so how do you make that choice? Right. Until you've tried it and you really like it, like the spreads, like the hot pepper and the stuff like that, like when people try it, most of the time they're hooked. Oh, and they're like, man, I love it.
We like the eggplant.
Yeah, it's so good.
What do you
spicy?
What's your favorite?
I mean, I kind of use it more like a topping than anything. Yeah. Like burgers and brochettes and like You know, I have the two kids are like, they're like sort of into spicy now a little bit, so they're kind of trying it, and I guess, you know, any type of, I mean, the eggplant is like the one, honestly, that I use the least, just because, I don't know why. It's just, you know, you have favorites and stuff like that. I use it at the restaurant quite a bit, but like at home personally, I've had to put a break a bit on this stuff at home. Yeah. Especially that it goes on everything from like eggs to pizza to, but yeah, I'm working on, I have a new organic olive oil coming out because a lot of people, like my landlord, they have, I didn't know they had organic also. So I was just like, oh, we'll try it. I mean, pretty much tastes the same, I would say, than the other olive oil. But once again, another opportunity for marketing and branding, and like, that's also fun, designing labels. And so there's a lot of fun stuff in there too as well, that a couple new vinegars. And yeah, I'm always on the lookout to work with, like, it's just hard in those, like the staples, like from Quebec or local stuff, most of the time, it's very expensive. Right. Like, it's hard to, you need to be able to sell it too. Like, I have one apple cider vinegar from Quebec, Margaret, and she's amazing. She makes, this is like, I'm not gonna say her lower end because it's all hand-picked apples made like artisanal. It's really good. But it's like $7. Right. When you have like Heinz at $1.79, you know, when you gotta make a choice, like Mr. Everybody, like, you know, like when you get to the grocery store, you gotta make a choice. So I understand, you know, like when it comes down to it. So that's the thing that, like, I've tried to get, like, you know, white balsamic vinegar is something I use all the time. I love it. I've been using the same one, basically mine now, but like before that, it was a brand that I was buying. I literally emailed them like, hey, I really love your vinegar. And like, I tried in Canada, like I tried to get something. First of all, we're very young in the development of vinegars, so we're not as, you know, there's thousands of years in Italy of making it. Here it's not. So it's like, the quality and the price was really hard to find here. And so I stuck to some products. Most of my spreads and all that is really local, and then some of the stuff like the olive oil, and I'm working on a Canadian oil now, and yeah, different oils and kind of like stuff that basically sticking to like staples and basics and not going into like the frozen food. Like a lot of people that I started with, my peers, let's say in Montreal that have started doing products, they've really like evolved very quickly. But what I've noticed is that like there's a lot of products, and then some products go because they just probably don't make the cut, or I don't know. And so I guess there's different ways of looking at it. I'm just like, I still like having my own little, you know, we have a small office, you know, it's just, it's manageable. And then like we can focus on like trying to get new stuff. But yeah, there's new stuff coming up. I made a deal with the oysters, but I can't talk about it.